Welcome back to the Loose Nut Printing channel. In this video I'll be showing you how to easily update Marlin on your printer if you've done a brand new mainboard like I did in my previous video to my printer, or if you just want to update your outdated firmware. I'll be showing you how to very easily do it. So let's get right into it. So the first thing we're going to be needing is a copy of Marlin. So we'll just head right over to the site and get it. So click on the downloads, grab that. Next thing we're going to want to do is head over to their GitHub page and go into the configs, examples, and in here is where all the printers that they have done and the community have done the configs for. And in this example, we'll be working on my G-Tech A10M. So we're going to need the configs for it. So grab the stock configs. First we'll grab the configs.h. Then we'll grab the config advance. And that's it. That's all the three files we're going to need. So now we have those. I'll show you what to do with them. Now we got our three files that we just downloaded. We put them on our desktop. First thing we're going to want to do is unzip our Marlin. That's going to take a minute, so quickly speed this up. Now with that unzipped, we can now take our two configs for our printer and put them right into the folder, and that's just simply going into the folder, then into Marlin, and dropping them right here. Yes, we want to replace them, and that's it. Now we just have to pop open VS Studios and configure just a few little things for the new mainboard. Now with VS Studios open, we can grab our fresh Marlin config and we'll just open folder. There we go. This is now our fresh copy of Marlin. So now we go into the configs, and this is where we start configuring everything if you have a new mainboard like myself. And that's the reason why I am updating my firmware. I put a Bigtreetech SKR Mini E3 V2 into my printer. So I'm going to be setting that up, setting Marlin up for that mainboard. So there might be a few things different for the mainboard you're working with, or you might not have to do anything. So very depends on how in depth you are going. So first thing I'm going to be doing is just doing some housekeeping, getting rid of some stuff. And that was basically it. So the first thing we're going to actually need to do for this example, I'm going to be using the Bigtreetech mainboard like I said. So we're going to have to go get the mainboard out of the SRC core boards, and this is where all the main boards are listed for Marlin. So we're looking for a Bigtreetech, so we'll just go BTT, and we'll scroll down here a little bit. Right there, that's our board. Just Control C that. The other thing you will want to take quick note of is this right here. This is the environment that you'll be compiling in. So just remember that, and you'll be not having any issues compiling unless there's something wrong in your code. So now with the board in tow, we can easily just paste it there. And now Marlin knows that we're dealing with a Bigtreetech SKR Mini E3. Like I stated earlier, you might not need to do this, and you might just already need to just go straight to Marlin auto build and compile it in the environment, I should say. But for this example, I'm going to need to change a few things, and then So now the next thing I'm going to have to change is I'm going to have to change the serial port for this board. If I leave it at 0, it will have an error for communication. So we have to change that. Next thing we're going to have to change is we're going to have to change the bud rate and lower it due to the fact if you leave it at 25 thou or 250,000, it will not work. Or I should say the screen that I'm using will not work. And the screen I'm using is a Bigtreetech TFT 3.5 inch with the simulated mode that it does. So that's what I'm also going to be setting this up for. So it's very straightforward for this. And so the next thing, we're going to need to add this for the touch screen part of the screen. Now that's it. Next thing we're going to have to change is our driver type. Since the Bigtreetech SKR Mini E3 V2 has the stepper drivers built in, and those are TMC 2209s. Oh shoot. Built in. All depends on your main board. Depends on if it has built-in or removable, and depends on which stepper drivers you have will determine which you'll need to use. My other printer has DRV 8825, so if I was doing this for that printer, I just put DRV 8825 here. And make sure to change this for all the ports that you have, and make sure they're matched, because bad things will happen if you don't have them matched. So next, since we have that changed, now that's pretty much it for configuring Marlin config. We'll have to do a few things in the advanced.h, but that's essentially all you need to do. If you're, say, just taking the Bigtreetech SKR E3 Mini V2 board or V3 and putting it into your printer, this is essentially all you'd have to do in the configs. I'll show you right away here what to do in the advanced.h. One other thing I will show you, I just thought of, is showing you how to get the screen, the Bigtreetech screen, to work right. And I'll do that now, scrolling all the way down to the bottom of this. While I was cruising on down to the bottom of Marlin, I happened to remember I should mention to you guys, if you have a Z-mounted probe on your printer and it wasn't there by default or factory, don't forget to enable Z probe homing if you have that. So one thing to remember, always double check your code and never just go off one look. Now continue cruising down to the basement of Marlin. While cruising on down to the basement of Marlin, I came across one setting I should mention about if your printer does something like mine, where you tell it to do homing with the probe by G29, and all of a sudden it starts to probe, does the first one, moves to the next position, and then stops, and you're watching it and it's cooling and turns off all the heat off everything. This is the reason right here. This is what's doing it. I'm going to simply just remove it with, so then I don't have to deal with it. But that's one other thing I should mention to you guys. And the other thing should be right around here, is don't forget to turn on Z safe homing. Okay, so here's the screen. So for, like I said earlier, I'm going to be using the Bigtreetech TFT 3.5. So there's a few things for it you're going to want to do to set it up. First thing, if you have this defined or uncommented in your Marlin config for your printer, you want to just comment it out because the screen does not need that. Next thing is we're going to need to disable the current LCD controller. The Bigtreetech doesn't like this one, but it will work with a Creality CR10, and with using the Bigtreetech SKR Mini E3 V2, it will only work with the Creality CR10 stock screen. MKS, there's a few screens that it will work with, but I found if you just tell Marlin that it's dealing with the CR10 stock screen, you shouldn't have, I should say, any compiling issues. We'll find it right now. CR10, yeah. This right here. Just take the two backslashes off, and there. That's all you'll really need to do to get the Bigtreetech screen to work with your board, or I should say with the Bigtreetech SKR Mini. Now with the config done, we can easily move over to doing the config advance for the board, and that's fairly straightforward. So I'm going to do some housekeeping here, comment that out, and that's pretty much it. Now we're just going to go and find the TMC section, and we are going to scroll down to right here. Oh no, not there. This here. This is what you're going to need. You're going to have to find out the current of your stepper drivers, or stepper motors, sorry, and do the V reference calculation for your stepper motors. There's a couple real good videos on YouTube that explain it and everything on how to do it. I've already gone ahead and figured out the math for my stepper motors, and I'm going to be running them a little bit lower than what the calculation came out. Generally you want to do like a 10% undercut on what you get, just to make sure if there's a spike or something like that, it won't be at its limits. And plus the TMC 2209s do have a limit on their peak current, so try not to go too high. So there's the first one changed. Next one I'm going to change is this one, and the next reader. Where are you? There's that. And then we have to change the number on these. Make that easy on myself. I'll grab the stock Bigtreetech Marlin firmware that's outdated, and there. Now I have the brand new Marlin config.h or advanced.h with the factory Bigtreetech SKR Mini E3 firmware on the right. So we can easily just trim through here and just make sure that everything is the same. So I'll go ahead and do that now. And here's the section I was trying to remember: the serial transmit pins. Haven't looked into it too much on what they do, All I know is they're changed, and it's safer to copy the manufacturer. So I'm going to just simply change these over to what they correspond on the right, making sure to remove the backslashes from them, and you see that they go from being red to green. So we got one more here to do. And now, oh, not that one. We want this one right here. And we're going to change that to 3. And there, now that's the same as the right. And the other thing I almost forgot to mention, since I'm using a printer that's on 24 volts, I have to change the chop timing to 24 volts. If your printer's running on 12, just leave it alone and you're good to go. Where, like I said, my printer's 24, you need to swap it over. I'm just going to now continue on scanning through here just to make sure there's no other differences that are drastically different that aren't necessary. Biggest ones are just the ones for the stepper drivers. That's what I'm been primarily looking for. Everything else shouldn't be needing to be touched due to the fact that's more for the printer than the drivers themselves. Okay, I've got through the config advanced.h. Didn't find anything else that was too noteworthy. So now with the config and config advanced configured for the new mainboard, and that would be my SKR or Bigtreetech SKR Mini E3. So with it all done, like I said at the start of getting the configs configured, to take a note of the environment, and that this is going to be the one. Some of the older boards you used to be able to do the 512, but nowadays you can't. You have to do it via the 256. So we're just going to simply click on build and let this thing run and do its thing. Oh, we got a fail. What did it not like? Oh, I missed something. Easy enough to fix. Give me a second. Okay, taking care of that little oops I missed. That was in the filament sensor runouts. I forgot to comment one spot out. Now let's give it a try and see how this goes. Well, missed something else. What did I forget to enable? Oh, it's complaining about something about probe. I'll have to go in there and tinker with that. Be right back with you guys. Okay, got that one fixed. Forgot to comment out the manual bed leveling. Whoops. Now we'll give it a clean, and now give it a build. Let's see if I forgot anything else this time. Definitely not my day for coding. I forgot that you don't need decimal points. Now with that fixed, we can give it a quick compile to see if we got anywhere. And Yahtzee. That's all we wanted. So now that we have a fresh copy of Marlin compiled for the Bigtreetech SKR E3 Mini, we can just easily throw it onto our SD card. And there we go. Now we can just simply throw it into the printer. Now with the firmware on the card and extract it from the computer, we can plop it into the printer and get the thing powered up. I'm doing this with the screen in the simulation mode due to the fact it will stay black until the firmware is updated, not like the TFT mode where at the top of the screen it will say not connected to the printer and it won't give you any other notification until that disappears. Not like this where it will show you the version of Marlin has changed. We just simply twist the knob over and reset that. And that's a good sign. The screen's connecting. Now we make sure the potentiometer is working in the rest of the screen. Yeah. Now hold it down and see if touchscreen mode works. Flipping over to that. And, well, it works. Now we can just give the printer a quick test of sending it to the home position to make sure that we have everything set up in the printer right. And, well, looks like we got it set right. That's a good sign. One last thing for you guys before I'll end this video is another way to confirm that your Bigtreetech SKR Mini E3 V2 board has updated is by plopping the SD card back in and seeing it change to this. Thanks guys for watching this lengthy video. This has been your friend Loose Nut Printing, signing off. Have a good one.